All right, guys, we're back. Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy CMB checking in. And guys, I want to talk a little bit about Terence Crawford and this post that he put out on his Verified X page. And it looks like he's kind of taking a dig at his detractors, his haters out there. And I want to read this post, and I'm going to get my thoughts on this. So let me read this real quick. Terence Crawford says, I'm going to say this and leave it alone because to some of y'all, it doesn't matter what I do. Y'all just hate. When I was fighting, nobody was effing with me. It's a reason why I was blackballed and still came out on top. Real MFs know, and the ones that didn't, they found out. Peace emoji. So that was Crawford coming at, like I said, his haters, coming at the detractors out there. You guys know Terence Crawford is retired now. And I'm going to say this because I absolutely 100% agree with what Crawford said there. You know, it's just been a hate fest when it comes to Terence Crawford, especially here in his own country. It just boggles my mind how, you know, a lot of these, I would say, boxing channels give all these foreign guys all these props, but then they have their biggest stars here and they just, you know, they just crap all over him. And Crawford is a perfect example of that. And I saw Ryan Garcia. I did a video about this. He was on someone's podcast. I can't remember the name of the podcast, but he said that Crawford fought an old Errol and an old Canelo Alvarez, and I just shake my head at that because Crawford was older than both of those guys. You know, it's always some angle when Crawford wins a fight, and you know, it goes all the way back, I would say, to when Crawford was on Top Rank. And, you know, you guys remember they were calling him, you know, Top Rank Toby and, you know, all these derogatory names and, you know, all the, you know, the good fights were on the other side of the street. At the PBC, they had, you know, all the champions over there, most of the champions over there. And then still, some of those guys didn't even want to fight Crawford. Keith Thurman didn't want any smoke. Danny Garcia didn't want any smoke. But, you know, it was all on Crawford. And the PBC didn't want to really give him an opportunity. It was all on Crawford. And this is after he became a free agent. You guys remember those negotiations with Errol the True Spence Jr. They just, you know, they didn't want that fight to happen. I think Errol wanted it to happen, but I don't think the people behind Errol wanted that fight to take place. So, like I said, leading up to that fight, you know, the talk was in the boxing space is that Errol is going to run roughshod over Terence Crawford because he was just too small. Even Errol was saying that he was too light in the ass. But when the fight happened and Crawford made it look easy, you know, after that, that's when the excuses started. You started hearing people saying, well, you know, Errol's not the same guy. Something was wrong with Errol. It was the car accident. And, you know, he had the car accident before he fought guys like Danny Garcia, and we didn't, you know, we didn't hear any of that. But as soon as Crawford wins, this is what we hear. And then even, you know, when he got the Canelo Alvarez fight, the talk was the same. You know, Crawford's too small. There's no way he's going to beat Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez is going to knock Terence Crawford out. And he did the unthinkable. And he became a 3-time undisputed champion by beating Canelo Alvarez. I think he could have stopped Canelo Alvarez in that fight if he would have pushed it a little bit more. But he won that fight, and that's when the excuses started. Canelo is too old, you know. And I'm like, how is Canelo too old? He's fighting a guy that's older than him, coming from a smaller weight class. The simple fact of the matter is, and I said this leading up to the fight, people thought I was nuts. I said that skills win fights, not weight. And Crawford had so much skill set compared to Canelo Alvarez, that's going to lead him to victory. He has a superior skill set, and I think that's going to lead him to victory. And I was crazy for that. But we saw what happened in the fight. He was just outclassed. But, you know, people still hate. You know, some of these YouTube channels still hate on Crawford to this day, even though he's accomplished things that, you know, most fighters in this generation haven't accomplished. Being a 5-division champion, being a 3-time undisputed champion in 3 different weight classes. You know, where do they do that at? They don't. But they don't want to give the guy his props. They want to try to uh, shit on his resume and make up excuses of why he won, the two biggest fights of his career. It's crazy, man. It's just straight up crazy. It's nothing but hate. And like I said, he's absolutely right on that. But I'm going to continue to give Terence Crawford his props because he's the best of this generation, in my opinion. In my opinion, I think he's the best, and I think we should celebrate that. We should celebrate that. These new guys, they're going to have to step it up. In my opinion, they're going to have to step it up. But anyway, I just want to get my 2 cents on that. You guys let me know what you think. Do you think Terence Crawford gets a lot of hate for no reason? Let me know how you feel about it in the comment section. It's the CMB. I'll talk to you guys in the next one. And I'm out. Peace.